Go and look at the plant you are most worried about, the one that has been sulking for weeks. Yellowing lower leaves, drooping, maybe a leaf or two dropping, and no matter what you do, it keeps looking worse. And here is what I would bet money on. It is not thirsty. It is not hungry. It does not need a bigger pot, a feed, or a sunnier windowsill. It is drowning, and it has been drowning for some time. Bad drainage kills more plants than every pest and disease in your garden combined. It is the documented #1 killer of lavender. It is behind most root rot in roses. It is what turns a hosta soft at the crown, and it is the single most common reason a houseplant quietly fails on somebody who was watering it faithfully and doing everything they were told. And the cruelest part is what it looks like. Because a plant that is drowning wilts, exactly like a plant that is dying of thirst. So you reach for the watering can and you finish it off, believing right up to the end that you were helping. Now, about the easy fix in the title, because I am going to be straight with you. If your problem is in a pot, and for most people it is, the fix genuinely is easy, and you can do it this afternoon with things you already own. If your problem is heavy clay in the ground, there is no easy fix, and anybody selling you one is lying. But there are 3 real options, and one of them works the same day. I am also going to show you the most popular drainage fix in the world, the one your parents taught you, and explain why the science on it is a genuine argument right now, and what to do either way. But first, you have to understand what drainage actually is, because it is not what the word suggests. Here is the thing the word gets wrong. Drainage sounds like it is about water leaving. It is not. Drainage is about AIR arriving. Look at what soil actually is. Roughly half of it is solid particles, and the other half is empty space between those particles, the pores. And every one of those pores holds either water or air, never both. So when you water, the water pushes the air out, and as the water drains away or gets used, air is pulled back down in behind it. That exchange is the entire point. Because roots breathe, they are living tissue, and they need oxygen, and they take it from the air in those pores. A root sitting in a pore full of water has nothing to breathe. So an overwatered plant does not die of too much water in any direct sense. It suffocates. The roots run out of oxygen, they begin to die, and then the water molds that cause root rot, which thrive in exactly those airless wet conditions, move in on tissue that can no longer defend itself. First, the suffocation, then the rot. And now the whole subject makes sense. Good drainage does not mean water disappears fast. It means AIR comes back fast. Every single fix in this video is really just a way of getting air back to the roots sooner. And do me a favor, drop a comment telling me whether your problem plant is in a pot or in the ground, because those are 2 completely different repairs. Now, how to know this is actually your problem? Before you fix anything, confirm it. Because the symptoms of drowning and the symptoms of drought are close to identical, and guessing wrong makes it worse. Start with your finger, because it settles most cases in 10 seconds. Push it 2 inches into the soil. If the plant is wilting and that soil is dry down there, fine, it might actually be thirsty. But if the plant is wilting and the soil is damp or wet, stop. Put the watering can down. That plant is not asking for water. It is telling you it can no longer take any up. Then look for the supporting evidence, because drowning leaves a trail. Lower leaves going yellow, while the top still looks reasonable. Leaves dropping, while still soft and green rather than crisp. A stem that has gone soft or dark, right at soil level. Fungus gnats, which only appear where the soil surface stays permanently damp. A crust of green algae or white mold on the surface, and the one that settles it beyond argument, the smell. Healthy soil smells like a forest floor. Rotting roots smell sour, swampy, and unmistakably wrong. If you get that, you have your answer. For a potted plant, there is a simpler check still. Learn what that pot weighs when it is properly dry and lift it before every watering. Weight tells you more than any moisture meter. For open ground, do the test properly. Dig a hole about a foot wide and a foot deep. Fill it with water and let it drain completely. Then fill it again and time how fast the level falls. Between 1 and 3 inches an hour is healthy soil. Under an inch an hour is a genuine drainage problem. And if that hole still holds water hours later, you do not have slow soil. You have a pond, and you need to plan accordingly. Now, the fix everybody reaches for first, and the argument about it is not settled. Here is a fact about pots that almost nobody is told, and it explains a great deal. Every container on Earth has a permanently saturated layer of soil sitting at the bottom of it. Every single one. It does not matter what mix you use, how many holes are in the pot, or how carefully you water. You cannot eliminate it. It is physics. The reason is a tug of war. Gravity pulls water down and out of the pot. Capillary action, the same force that pulls water up a paper towel, holds it in the small spaces between soil particles. Water pours out of the drainage hole until those two forces balance, and where they balance, a zone of saturated soil stays put. Growers call it the perched water table because the water is perched there, unable to go down and unable to spread up. And here is the part that is immediately useful. That saturated zone forms at roughly the same height no matter what pot you use. So think about what that means for a short, wide pot. The wet layer takes up a huge percentage of the total soil. Put the same mix in a tall, narrow pot, and that same wet layer sits under a great deal of dry, airy soil. Which means your pot shape is a drainage decision, and hardly anyone treats it as one. Shallow bowls are the hardest containers in the world to keep a plant alive in. Now, the thing everybody does about all of this. Gravel in the bottom of the pot. Crocks, stones, broken pottery, packing peanuts. Your parents did it. Every plant shop has told you to do it. The standard argument against it goes like this, and it comes from soil scientists and extension services, including the University of California master gardeners. Water does not move easily from fine material into coarse material. So when water travels down through your potting mix and hits a layer of gravel, it stops. It will not cross into those big open spaces until the soil directly above it is completely saturated, which means the gravel does not drain your pot at all. It lifts the wet zone up higher, closer to the roots, and steals root space while it does it. That has been the consensus for decades. And now I have to be honest with you about something, because that is what we do here. That consensus was built almost entirely on theory. Nobody had actually run the experiment. Then in February of last year, a researcher named Avery Rowe published the first proper experimental test of it in the journal PLOS One, and the results went the other way. Across 3 soil types and every drainage material tested, the pots with a drainage layer held less water, not more. Thicker layers did better than thin ones. So this is genuinely an open argument right now, and anybody telling you it is settled has not read the last 2 years of it. But here is what holds no matter who turns out to be right, and it is the practical answer. A gravel layer is not how you fix drainage. Because the thing every side of this argument agrees on is that layering different materials creates problems, and mixing them does not. If you want a pot to drain better, you change the entire mix, not the bottom 3 inches of it. You cannot fix a mix by putting something underneath it. Quick one, because there is a pattern running through this whole video that is worth naming. It is the confident fix. The thing everybody does, that everybody was taught, that feels obviously right, and that nobody ever actually tested. Gravel in the bottom of the pot is one. And once you start looking for that pattern, you find it everywhere in gardening. The worst case of it I know is hydrogen peroxide. Online, it has been turned into a miracle cure. Pour it on to oxygenate your soil. Pour it on to feed your plants. Pour it on to fix whatever is wrong with the leaves. Almost none of that is true, and people doing it regularly are killing the beneficial fungi their plants depend on while believing they are helping. But it does have real uses, and one of them is precisely the situation this video is about. When drainage has already failed and you are cutting rot off a root ball, peroxide is genuinely the right tool for killing what is on those roots. So I wrote the honest version down. It is called the Hydrogen Peroxide Playbook. 31 uses, every one with the exact dilution, sourced from real horticulture rather than internet myths. Plus a clip and pin chart for your shed wall, so the ratio is on the wall instead of in a search bar with wet hands. 25 pages, $27, and the link is in the description at waltgreer.com. And there is a whole section in it on the 5 things peroxide will not do, including this one, which matters today. It kills the rot. It cannot regrow a root that is already gone, because a book that only tells you what to do is only half a book. Now, the actual fix. Starting with pots, where it is genuinely easy. Start with the holes, because there is no fixing anything without them. A pot with no drainage hole has no drainage, not slow drainage, none. Water goes in and stays there until something absorbs it or it evaporates, and the bottom of that pot becomes a swamp. If a pot you love has no hole, drill one. A masonry bit on a slow speed goes through ceramic fine. And if a plastic nursery pot has one small hole, add 3 or 4 more with a hot screwdriver. It takes a minute. Then check the outer pot, because this is the one that kills the most houseplants. Almost everybody grows in a plastic nursery pot dropped inside a decorative one with no hole in it. So the water drains out of the inner pot exactly as designed, and then sits in the bottom of the pretty one, and the plant stands in it. That is a bucket, not a planter. So either lift the inner pot out to water and let it finish dripping before it goes back, or put a good handful of pebbles in the outer pot so the inner one sits above whatever collects. Now the actual repair, and it is one sentence. Fix the whole mix, not part of it. Take bagged potting soil and cut it with something chunky. Perlite is cheapest and most available. Pumice is better and heavier. Orchid bark, coarse grit, and cocoa chips all work. You want somewhere around 1/4 to 1/3 of the total volume as chunky material, and more than that for anything succulent or Mediterranean. Mix it through completely, top to bottom, and test it before you plant. Fill a spare pot with your mix, pour water in, and watch. It should run straight through and out the bottom within a few seconds. If it sits on the surface and sinks slowly, add more perlite and test again. That takes 2 minutes and tells you more than any label. 2 last things. Pot up one size at a time, because a plant sitting in a pot far too large is surrounded by wet soil no root is using. And terracotta is genuinely better than plastic or glazed ceramic here, because it breathes through its walls and pulls moisture out. The mix is the fix. Everything else is housekeeping. Now the ground. And here is where I stop promising you easy. If you have heavy clay, you cannot amend your way out of it in a weekend. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. But there are 3 real options, and they are ranked by how much work you are willing to do. First, though, stop before you buy sand. This is the most damaging piece of drainage advice in circulation, and it seems perfectly logical. Clay drains slowly. Sand drains fast. Mix them and get something in between. What actually happens is the opposite. Clay particles are less than 0.02 of a millimeter across, and sand grains are up to 1,000 times bigger, so those tiny clay plates simply pack into every gap between the sand and seal it. Soil scientists at UC Davis and Illinois Extension both put the threshold at roughly equal volumes of sand and clay before you see any improvement at all, and Washington State Extension notes that the mix you get below that is denser and harder to dig than the clay you started with. You are not making loam. You are making a low grade of concrete. And while we are here, gypsum. It is sold as the miracle for clay, and it does genuinely work on high salt sodic soils. For ordinary backyard clay, it does essentially nothing for drainage. Option 1. The real repair. Organic matter, repeatedly. 2 to 4 inches of compost worked into the top 6 to 8 inches, and then again next year, and the year after. Leaf mold, aged manure, shredded leaves all work. It does not open the soil by force, it encourages those clay plates to clump into crumbs, and crumbs have pores between them. Expect improvement in the first season and genuine transformation in 2 to 3. And never work clay while it is wet, because you destroy the structure you are trying to build. Option 2. The same-day fix. Stop fighting the ground and go up. A raised bed or a simple soil berm gives you a perfect root zone this afternoon, filled with a mix you chose. Even 4 to 6 inches of height gets roots above the waterlogged layer. Option 3. Free. Plant for the site you actually have. Coneflower, black-eyed Susan, viburnum, oak, willow, dogwood, and a long list of natives are perfectly happy in wet clay. Fixing the soil is one answer. Choosing plants that already like it is a completely legitimate other one. If the smell test came back bad, here is the surgery. Get the plant out of the pot and wash all the soil off the roots so you can actually see what you are working with. Healthy roots are firm and pale and springy. Rotten ones are dark, soft, and come apart between your fingers. Cut every rotten root away, back into firm tissue, with a blade you have wiped clean. Be ruthless. Anything mushy left behind carries on rotting. Soak what remains for 5 to 10 minutes in 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide to 2 parts water, then repot into fresh, gritty mix in a clean pot. If you removed a lot of root, go down a pot size rather than up, and cut back some of the top growth as well, because the roots that are left cannot support the leaves the plant had before. Then leave it alone. Water lightly and do not feed it, because a damaged root system cannot use fertilizer and the salts will burn what is left. And the honest verdict. If the crown itself, where the stem meets the roots, is soft and mushy, that plant is gone. Take a cutting from the healthiest growth and start again. Before we finish, send this to one person you know who is watering a dying plant right now, convinced it is thirsty. Just the link. That single finger test could be the whole difference. Now here is the entire video in one line. Drainage is not about water leaving. It is about AIR arriving. Roots breathe. A drowning plant is a suffocating plant, and it wilts exactly like a thirsty one, which is why so many people water them to death while trying to save them. So before you ever reach for the can again, put your finger 2 inches in and trust that over the way the leaves look. In a pot, the fix is genuinely an afternoon. Holes in the bottom, no water trapped in the decorative outer pot, and a mix cut through with a third perlite or grit, top to bottom, because you cannot fix a mix by putting something underneath it. In heavy clay, buy compost, not sand. Or stop fighting the ground entirely and build up on top of it, which works the same day. Or plant the things that were always going to be happy there. And on gravel in the bottom of the pot, be comfortable saying what is actually true. That one is still being argued about by people who measure things for a living, and it is not the fix either way. So subscribe and stick around. We do this the honest way here in the Forgotten Knowledge Library. Real horticulture, exact numbers, and we tell you straight, including when the science is still an open argument. It is free, and it always will be. And drop a comment telling me whether yours is a pot problem or a ground problem, and I will help where I can. Next time, another thing everybody does confidently that nobody ever tested. I will see you in the next one.